This is a showcase for the AMA partner Bespoke Digital, and we have Aaron Griesdorn, the founder of Bespoke Digital, which is a creative post-production studio specializing in high-end retouching, CGI, motion, and AI integrated workflows for global brands, including Google, Amazon, Tiffany and Company, and HP. Having worked through the industry's transition from film to digital and now into AI-assisted production, Aaron focuses on how emerging technologies can expand creative possibilities while protecting the craft and collaboration at the center of commercial image making. Aaron,
All right. Thank you, Stephanie, for the intro.
of course.
And so I just share my screen, right? Yeah. Can everyone see? Cool. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today. My name is Aaron. I'm the founder of Bespoke Digital, and I'm here today to tell you about my company, but also to talk a little about AI. I want to get into what AI actually means for the photographers you represent, or some of you here might be photographers yourself. I hope that by the end of this presentation, AI will feel a little smaller and a lot more useful to you. So let's begin. We are at the beginning of one of the most fascinating eras in the history of commercial image making. And there's a lot of noise about what that means. But most of it is designed to drive investment dollars, not reflect reality. AI companies have an incentive to make this transition sound more dramatic than it is. I've spent the last 20 years working through digital evolutions from stills to video to social media, 3D, and now AI. And I've worked alongside some of the most talented photographers in the industry. And in all that time, this is what I've learned. Most major creative transitions feel exciting and uncomfortable at the same time. Every major shift has followed the same pattern: disruption, adaptation, then creative evolution. We simply believe that you need to focus on adaptation right now. And I hope to show you that it's possible to navigate this shift to your advantage. What you bring to your artists in this moment, the guidance, the connections, the right partners, that's more valuable than it's ever been. And that's why we're here today, to share some of what we've learned. So before I dive deeper into AI, let me tell you a bit more about me and my company, Bespoke. I created Bespoke because I believe some images survive the test of time and become iconic. And our job is to play a small part in making sure they do. Early in my career, I spent nearly a decade on set, flying around the world and working with some of the biggest names and brands in the business. That experience really shaped how I think about craft, taste, and what makes an image last. It's also where I understood what photographers actually need from the people around them. Bespoke was built from both of those things: a passion for helping craft visuals that become iconic, and a real desire to always stay ahead of where the technology is going. We started as a one-person studio in 2005, and we're now a senior core team across New York, LA, and Paris. Everyone here was hired for taste and technical skills, and every person has worked at the highest level of commercial production. Behind our core team is a worldwide network of talent that we've cultivated over 20 years in the industry. This combination of small core team and deep network of talent allows us to remain boutique, yet always ready to execute large-scale projects. We are headquartered in New York with producers and freelancers in LA and across Europe. We are in a strong place and always looking to forge new relationships. Last year, we celebrated our 20th anniversary, and we're proud to have contributed to some very iconic campaigns over the years for the likes of La Mer, Apple, Skims, Adidas, NARS, Uniqlo. Projects often start with the trust of photographers, and that's why we value our relationships with them. Our relationship with Google is a good example. 8 years ago, it started with two photographers trusting our team across two very different types of work, still life and lifestyle. I'm taking these photographers to dinner next week, and we're still that close and still working together. Bespoke started as what we would call today a retouching house or studio, but over the years, Bespoke has grown into something quite different. Bespoke is probably best described as a hybrid creative post studio, connecting craft, technology, and production from capture to campaign. What does that mean? That means we handle more of the production than a traditional post house. And when the creative needs to go further, we have the people for that too. We start where most other retouchers start, but we rarely end there. Let me walk you through what that actually looks like. Stills retouching. We started with retouching 20 years ago, and of course, this is still one of our strongest capabilities. 20 years in, I can say with confidence that we are experts when it comes to retouching. What you can see here is a sample of the work we do: compositing, color grading, extensions, cleanup, detailed beauty and skin work. What they all have in common, you rarely notice our retouching. And that's exactly how you recognize someone who executes this craft perfectly. The image just feels right, natural, but with taste. That's where retouching becomes more than execution. Bespoke becomes a creative partner. We understand the photographer's eye and the reason they were hired in the first place. Next, motion and video finishing. So years ago, as video became more prevalent with the emergence of social media, we quickly realized that combining video skills with our retouching skills allowed us to streamline processes and simplify productions for the artists and the clients. Everything under one roof kept the creative cohesive and the conversation simple. One team, one relationship instead of two. So today, a lot of the campaigns we work on involve some combination of editing, color cleanup, VFX, graphics, or finishing alongside the still work that we do. Sometimes it's full motion digital out of home or TVC campaigns. Sometimes it's cut downs, social assets, or launch content built around a photography campaign. 3D motion design. 3D genuinely feels connected to our aesthetic and the kind of premium visual work our clients come to us for. We've won several 3D first campaigns, which helped us develop that capability in a more focused commercial context. Although where it comes in most useful, we've found, is when a still or motion project needs 3D elements brought into the process. A product replacement, an environment extension, a material exploration, a digital prop. We can solve those problems quickly without turning them into a whole separate production lane. For clients, that makes the process faster, more flexible, and a lot less painful. Prepress and printing. An often overlooked part of the process, but a big part of what we do, especially for clients where color and consistency need to hold up at scale. A file can look beautiful on screen. Once it moves into print in CMYK, out of home retail displays, billboards, or a global rollout, the color has to be perfect. Most studios stop at delivery. Bespoke is often asked to see a project through mechanicals, proofs, vendor direction, out of home toolkits, with the experience and processes to make sure the work holds up everywhere it needs to live. And finally, on-set supervision. So this has been a game changer for our clients lately. Traditionally, post houses are brought in after the shoot, but we've been changing this, and our clients are loving the benefits they get from it. The main benefit is that your creative vision is protected and the communication with the brand is clear from the beginning. No surprises appear later in post. We're making sure the post process is already thought through while the images are being made, flagging problems early, capturing the right plates, avoiding small decisions on set that become expensive in post. We're essentially becoming a partner even more than we were before, and we're not adding another voice to the production. We're simply making sure everything you want to create will be possible later on. So this is the perfect segue to the second part of the presentation, the solutions and opportunities we see for our industry going forward. The demand for commercial imagery has never been higher. More markets, more channels, more formats, more variations. That is not a problem AI created. That is a problem AI helps a photographer solve. This was already happening before AI became the headline. The tools keep changing, but the need for taste, experience, and creative judgment never goes away. AI is no different. What if we set aside our fear for a moment, not because the risks aren't real, we'll get to those, but because the opportunity is here right now. The brands we work with are already exploring how to use these tools. The question is whether your photographers are part of that process or watching it happen from the sideline. Agents have a real role in shaping how these opportunities develop around their artists. And that's part of why we're here today. With that in mind, let me show you the opportunities we see in the AI era and the solutions we've been building around them. Pre-visualization, our first opportunity in the AI era, or as we say, Previz. Previz isn't a new idea. It's obviously been common in film and TV for years, given the scale and cost of the productions, but in stills, it's largely been skipped. But AI changes that. It allows photographers to match a client's brief almost exactly, and that can be the difference between winning a pitch and not getting the call back. And brands are already using this internally to move concepts through approvals faster. Now, I want to look at Previz in two directions, editorial and commercial, because I think editorial is one that's often overlooked. Editorial Previz is more about creative exploration. The baseline is taking a still and putting it in motion, but that's already just table stakes at this point. Where it gets interesting, though, is pushing the image and concepts further. What you're seeing here are concepts from our creative director proposing different ideas around transforming hero images that aren't shown here from a recent editorial shoot using AI. This could actually happen before a shoot as previs or after once the real images exist, which is especially useful with celebrity talent or celebrity talent driven work where the time with the subject is often limited. The real capture is still the foundation, but AI gives the artist more room to explore the world around that work. For us, this means collaborating with the artist, understanding their visual language, and adding a dimension that feels connected to them and their work, but taking it to another level. Commercial previs is a little different. The goal here is less about imagining the impossible and more about helping teams make better decisions before production spend begins. It can help clarify a direction, test a location, explore lighting, understand product context, give a client something specific to react to before the shoot. We've used this with clients like Saks, where Previz helped the team align internally before moving deeper into pre-production. In this example shown here, during the briefing phase, the team was drawn to pairing the muted industrial tones of the subway environment with a whimsical winter world, where elevated color and atmosphere would better showcase the collection. To bring that vision into focus early, our EP introduced AI as a way to rapidly explore and visualize these environments, test different directions, and evaluate how the looks would sit within each setting. AI was also used to test VFX before committing to full VFX production, saving both time and budget. Pre-production. Sometimes the most expensive problems in post are the ones that could have been solved on set. This opportunity is about bringing post into the conversation earlier, because decisions made during the shoot directly affect what's possible afterward. We touched on on-set supervision as a service. This is what it unlocks in practice. For clients like Amazon and Google, we put our EP on set to answer questions in real time: what needs to be captured from a post point of view, what can be extended, where CGI or AI might play a role. On this Amazon XCM campaign example, that meant planning captures that enabled stop motion movement, building precise image plates to reduce redundant shooting, and designing a layering system where a single capture could generate multiple outputs. And this is where AI changes the game. Our remote team can now test, generate, and mock up ideas almost immediately while the talent and lighting are still live on set. What used to take days can be answered in hours. The photographer gets more clarity while shooting, the client gets more flexibility in post, and everyone makes better decisions while there's still time to act. We recently proposed this on a Google shoot. When it wrapped, they confirmed Bespoke would be on every future production for that team. Speaking of Google, in this launch, we organized with Google for their Pixel 8 Mint phone. The live mural activation was just the beginning. Our CGI artists, editors, and colorists built out everything around it: the behind-the-scenes film, the final reveal content, and CGI animations of the artist's calligraphy adapted for digital, out-of-home, and social. One live moment extended into a full content ecosystem across every channel. Moving on to the next opportunity, maximizing shoot value. Most modern campaigns need to cover a lot of bases. AI makes this possible in ways it simply wasn't before. For this fashion campaign, we had already finished retouching when I suggested to the photographer that we take 5 hero images and create a few short videos from them. The movement was subtle, just enough to make the images feel more alive and useful for social without feeling artificially animated. The goal is not endless content, it's looking at a strong image and asking whether it can carry a little further without losing what made it work in the first place. The brand got 5 additional social assets. The photographer had another way for the work to live beyond the original still campaign. The same opportunity here, but just slightly different example. The still work was already finished, but Google had a digital out-of-home space that needed motion. So we took a finished retouched image and animated it for the placement. The still stayed the foundation. The media space just needed a little more movement. For the client, the asset works harder. For the artist, the work gets another life. And on the beauty side, a few simpler examples. This still was always the foundation. We just gave it a little movement. On this project, we were editing and color grading a video alongside the photographer. Rather than handling the AI work ourselves, we encouraged her to get hands-on with it, using it as a creative tool to shape the direction of the piece. She ended up contributing a few additional elements that helped tell the product story in a way the original edit didn't quite have room for. The work was better for it, and she left the project with a new tool she now knows how to use. Using AI in the creative workflow. For this last solution, we're looking at AI not just creatively, but structurally and logistically, how it sits underneath the entire workflow. Let's review the pipeline here. At the brief stage, AI helps us get to client-aligned visuals and sharper creative direction faster, and a potentially higher chance of winning a pitch. In pre-pro, we are pressure testing concepts and planning smarter capture before anyone sets foot on set. During production, our on-set supervision is connected back to the studio, remote team activation in real time. In post, AI helps us speed up versioning, localization, formatting, and frame extensions. And in content expansion, we're turning finished assets into alternate heroes and stills to motion. What sits up underneath all of that green bar at the bottom, is our custom AI tools and software backbone. We've recently built our own AI-supported systems and tools at Bespoke, covering needs and streamlining processes across the entire business's workflow, as well as helping us create private AI working environments specifically tuned to artist and clients' needs. The reason I mention it is this. We're a boutique team, but these systems and tools allow us to operate at the capacity and control of an agency or studio many times our size. The work is getting more complex. These systems are how we keep up and how we make sure nothing falls through the cracks for our clients. Important slide here, using AI safely. Given the audience, I'm guessing this is one of the areas most of you are still grappling with. Hold your questions and we'll come back to them at the end, but please keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have all the answers, and I'm not giving any legal advice. But we've been through enough real AI productions to share what we're seeing. The first is copyright. The distinction that matters most is where the work starts. An image built almost entirely by AI carries real complications around authorship and protection, which ultimately makes it difficult for brands to realistically skip photography for content that really matters. Now, an image that starts from a photographer's capture and uses AI as one layer of the process is a very different conversation. Your photographer's images are the foundation, and no AI program is going to win a copyright battle against you in that case. Resolution. This is one of the most important points in this presentation, and it's one most people overlook. AI can look impressive at small scale on a screen. It cannot live up to out-of-home print quality. This is actually why Previz can work so well. AI is perfect for exploring ideas, testing directions, and showing clients a vision early. But the moment that vision needs to hold up at print, broadcast, or large format level, you need a real production behind it. The production standards still apply, and AI is simply not there yet. In this case, that That is not a limitation for photographers. That is your protection. Brands cannot skip and generate campaign-ready assets at print quality using AI. Not yet. Possibly not for a long time. Uh, the photographers own that space, and it's worth making sure everyone understands that. Custom workflows. Not all AI platforms are the same, and not all are appropriate for commercial work because of their terms and conditions. We operate within controlled systems, in some cases completely closed off from the internet, because when you're handling unreleased products, celebrity assets, or talent work, you have to know exactly where that imagery goes. And if talent is involved, model likeness requires explicit permission before it's used in any AI-assisted output, especially for commercial use. However, I imagine this will become standard talent contract language in the near future, not necessarily granting new permissions, but defining the terms clearly, AI's usage and model likeness provisions built into agreements by default, so everyone knows exactly where they stand. And so this is really what we mean by using AI safely, using it with enough judgment that the client, the artist, and the work are protected. A few months ago, we built a webinar specifically for this conversation, a webinar called Practical AI for Commercial Stills Workflows. For anyone who wants to go deeper after today, this webinar is probably the best place to start. We built it as a practical resource for photographers, agents, and creative teams who want to make the most out of AI in a commercial stills workflow. We cover safe tools, first steps, and low-risk ways for artists to start experimenting with their own work, all while following a mock brief to campaign scenario with examples of using Previz for pitches, lighting and location exploration, post workflows, stills to motion, and expanding your hero deliverables. Here are a few quotes from some of the viewers so far. As a photo agent, this gave me real practical sense of how AI is being used today and how to navigate it with my artists and clients. Immensely helpful and empowering. Aaron's talk reminded me AI is just the next tool in a long evolution of visual storytelling. What remains constant is the taste, intent, and imagination of the individual creating the image. This webinar shows you how to stop fearing AI and start seeing the many possibilities. You can find the link on our Instagram bio. We'd love for you to share it with your artists and curious to hear their thoughts and feedback. So just to recap quickly, what does all of this actually look like in practice? We view it as a partnership. When we're brought in early, our EP works directly with the photographer, understanding the job, flagging where posts can add value, and making sure nothing gets missed before anyone commits to a scope. On set, that means someone who can handle the client's post questions in real time. The photographer can stay focused on the shoot. And in post, they have a team they can trust. One that understands their eye, protects their vision, and makes sure the final work reflects the standard they set on set. We're not here to complicate your relationships. We want to be the partner that makes your artists look like they operate at the highest level. Because with the right post team behind them, they do. And we're here for this production and the one after it. I want to leave you all today with the idea we keep coming back to internally at Bespoke. We don't think there is less work ahead for creatives. We think there is more. It may just look a little different. More complexity, more need for taste, more need for craft, and more need for good judgment. As the tools keep changing, those are the things that can't be replicated. That's why we're optimistic. We believe there is more work in front of the industry, not less. The photographers and artists you represent already bring the point of view, the craft, and the instinct that this work depends on. And that's exactly why the future needs every creative it can get. Thank you to the AMA for the partnership, and thank you all for taking the time to be here. Hopefully, this felt useful, and hopefully, it leaves you feeling a little more optimistic about where creative production is heading. I think we all have a role to play in shaping that, which is part of what makes this moment so interesting. If anything sparked a question, disagreement, or an idea, we genuinely love to keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
I guess I have a question. I mean, first of all, thank you for supporting the AMA, and this was really informative. I really appreciate that, Erin. So I totally can see the value for clients being able to create assets, from a shoot, more assets from a shoot.
Mhm.
As an artist rep, I'm also thinking about how the photographer is supported in that model, because as you were saying, like there's the previs, but there's also this enormous amount of flexibility on set for, kind of adding value. And those types of situations often, when they're unplanned financially, leave the photographer on the back foot, and not so much, the technicians that are making those derivatives possible. So where does Bespoke support? I get the support for the client and the vision, and I get the support for the photographer in terms of maintaining their artistic vision. But what about compensation? How do you get involved in that? How do you talk to clients about that? Because, like retouching, everyone knows X amount of rounds, that's it. You're cut off, or you just keep throwing money at it. But the boundaries are a little more porous when it comes to photography.
Right. I think that this has come up recently, actually. It usually is a conversation with us and the artist, and and then the agent has kind of brought it up with the client, and this is all sort of new things that are coming about. So, as another reason why we're actually putting the webinar out there is because I think these things are going to come up more and more in agents day to day if they haven't already. But for us, it's always a conversation that starts with whoever the client came from. If we're working with the photographer, we're not doing anything with AI until we've had a good conversation with the photographer or the agent or both. So yeah, nothing's going into AI until we've all had a talk about it. And then, yeah, obviously, I think the compensation needs to be aligned on that side as well.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Erin?
Are you guys going to let me off that easy? This is what
Yeah,
I was most afraid of.
I have follow-up questions, but I'm going to let somebody else ask.
Derek is here.
yeah. First off, thank you for sharing. This is, I think, an important conversation to have. And as a creative myself, it's stuff that I am trying to figure out how to navigate. So it's good to hear from other people in the industry. But I guess my big question is when it comes to the ethics artistically, and when it comes to client demands, where's the line drawn, in your opinion, for Bespoke, with something that you just won't use AI for? Do you have a clear boundary, or is it always kind of adapting to specific clients depending on their needs?
Um, I think the direction we've kind of moved in is exactly what we proposed in the webinar that we put up, and here is like we really want to preserve the current production, the current photographic workflow. If clients start to skip over that, we're all in trouble, us included. As soon as they start plugging Claude code into Adobe, we're screwed too. So we really want to draw the line. We want to work with real photographs. We don't want to start creating images from AI directly. That's really complicated for everyone. It's complicated from a copyright point of view. It's complicated from a resolution point of view. So to answer your question as simply as possible, we want to preserve the photographic workflow and only use AI around what's been agreed on the actual images that come out of a production. Or Previz, which is a little more on your end, but we're there to help if need be.
Got it.
I
Laura,
have kind of
go
a basic question. Aaron,
Mhm.
first of all, thank you. This was absolutely amazing. Loved all the visuals,
Thank you.
and the explanations were very concise and understandable and fabulous. Just on a real rudimentary workflow aspect, I'm wondering what your clients or do you think your clients have become more interested on the on-set portion due to AI possibilities, or did they finally decide that there's just so many asset possibilities, putting the AI aside, that it's nice to have a partner to help kind of sort that out from the top, which is every agent's dream, because we end up doing that, and it's difficult.
Um, Sorry. So you're asking like on set, working
Yeah,
AI on set?
well, if the onset, my understanding is that your onset
Hmm.
position is a little bit new,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
applaud, because I've always been an agent that tries to bring on any type of post supervisor in the front during
Hmm.
pre-production and on set, just because of the magnitude of assets and
Yeah.
all the moving parts for everybody. So my question is, in terms of those assets, have you seen this on-set spike in client requests more due to AI, or overall just because they're starting to get that managing those assets is so important?
That's a good question. I don't think it's AI that's necessarily driving it right now. I think it's just the complexity of the campaigns, like you said.
Right.
And now AI, we've kind of discovered being an opportunity that's there that we can now kind of inject to this process as well. And it ties into previs a little bit, but that pre-production, or like I was saying, understanding what can actually be done on set, or if they need to pivot an idea or something, we can quickly like test it. So I don't think it's coming from clients that are pressuring us. It's kind of everybody discovering what's possible with the new tools out there.
Right. Discovering the high value of that asset management from the conception through the post process, and not just the process.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yay.
I
Thank
have
you.
I have a kind of a practical question. And again, full disclosure that I'm not in the photography world, but it just occurred to me as I was listening to your presentation, which let me echo and just say fascinating and extremely concise and well put together and compelling, even to somebody who's not in the photography world. I don't want to put you on the spot too much. I'm asking this from a structural point of view. How does Bespoke structure your fees and your compensation? And is that something I'm asking because I'm curious as an agent, but also for the benefit of all the other agents who might be wanting to work with you. Is
Mhm.
this something that is worked into estimating from the beginning? I mean, it sounds like from what you said, that you would love to be there from the beginning, but you're also open and have a lot of experience being brought in either to put out a fire or to create a solution for something. So I'm just really curious on behalf of everyone how that's structured.
Right. Um, I would say that we gosh, this is where I freeze up in the Q&A. No, it's always a conversation, and we I don't think the fee structure is very complicated around all the things I proposed today. And like you said, we can come in after the process or the beginning of the process. We are bespoke at the end of the day, so we kind of tailor the services to the need of the client. And that could mean getting involved very early, or only starting at the when
Well,
post starts.
part of the impetus for my question
Mhm.
is because what you do seems so extraordinary. I mean, again, I'm clueless, but I feel like I would, if I could, I would want to include you from the beginning.
Right.
So, meaning as an agent, that means, or a producer, no, an agent, having to budget for that or incorporate that in the budget because it's really
Right.
tough, if unless it's an emergency, it's really people are not looking to add cost, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
after the fact. So I guess that's the reason I'm asking.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, and I would say that, some of these scenarios we presented probably make sense on the projects that where that kind of fits and makes sense. If they're complex, like you were saying, with a lot of deliverables, that's where it really makes the most sense. But I don't think we're not pricing these things in like a crazy way. So it's I think they're very doable.
But
Um,
structurally, is there like a day rate? Like that's what I'm saying, like not dollars and
yeah, I
cents,
mean,
but just structurally how you guys work.
well, it starts with us understanding the scope, but yeah, I mean, to put our EP on set, that is generally a day rate, yeah. And then I don't know, like, yeah, it all depends on how complicated it gets from there,
No,
but it
I
can
mean, of
be as
course,
simple
you
as
don't
that.
know what's going to be needed until you're
Yeah,
there, but just
yeah,
having someone there from Bespoke is right up front a person to budget for as
exactly.
on a
Yeah,
day rate.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, and like I mentioned in TV and film, that this is quite common, and I think photographic productions are getting more complex. So maybe where that happens, it makes sense to have that post supervisor there helping usher things into post as well.
Does anybody else have a question for Aaron? Oh, Aaron, you might be good.
I actually have one more question that
Okay.
has nothing, that's about for myself, that's really about do you guys handle anything? I mean, you kept saying like static work and then motion work.
Mhm.
Do you do anything involving imagery that's not photographic, i.e., illustration? Do you do animation? If so, big, small, everything in between?
We've we've done very little of that. I would say most of our work does start with some sort of visual. We have had to get involved in some components of animation in terms like 2D and other work, but mostly visual oriented.
Visual, when you say, I mean, an illustration
Sorry,
is a visual. So you mean a
photographic.
photograph? Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Awesome. Um, just checking in one last time.
I just want to say it was very positive what you said about AI for photographers. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think anybody has to worry. The tools are powerful, but I don't really think they're replacing anyone that we were just talking about before the call, like anyone who is doing good work. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, the lower level, the lowest common denominator work, yes, is probably under threat. But
Yeah, that's what I felt too, but I'm glad that you said it as well. So that's good to hear.
yeah, and I think the more everybody kind of gets hands-on with these tools, they'll start to see where they fit in and where they can benefit from them more and more, and it'll just be normal in a couple of
Well,
years.
I feel like so many clients have been given some kind of like mandate from very high up in their agencies that like we got to figure this out. We've got to figure out how to use AI to cut costs. But I think that is playing out differently. I think that there a lot of agencies and clients are quickly understanding themselves that it's not a replacement,
Yeah,
or if it is, it's to create slop. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't the panacea that we all thought it was going to be. I
yeah,
think they're just getting a little bit more realistic picture the more they try and use it or figure out how to use it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, well, I would argue that it actually does impact the field on the whole. I mean, AI is just getting better and better. And yes, I mean, at the highest level, you need creativity to tell stories and you need imagination. But there's many, many people that are not at the highest level that make an income in our industry. I mean, so many people on set, from the new assistant to the digitech to the photographer themselves, the first assistant, and people have been, when will be out of ecom jobs, they'll be out of
right,
many jobs. It will be a lot of pressure on the people left, and the cream does rise to the top, but God help you if you don't have the cream. I'm sorry. I mean, it is going to come for people's lunch. So, I mean, that's just the reality.
yeah,
Not everybody is going to be able to make a living in our industry, which has really had a very broad range for decades of abilities, and people who were more technically inclined could make a living. People who are very creative could make an incredible living. So it's
yeah,
game on. I mean,
yeah. I totally agree. But it's playing out across every industry, not just photography.
agreed.
Um, and I think we're going to see a lot of opportunities and possibilities come out of these tools as well. So it's definitely going to be an evolution, and there's going to be a tumultuous period, probably more so than other evolutions in the past. But if if those who are willing to like get hands-on and learn new things, then I do think there's directions forward for everyone. I'm not speaking for AI. I'm not being paid by any AI companies, but I just tend to have a positive outlook on these things. And I know that there's a lot of negative rhetoric out there. And so I don't know, I guess I'm the
I
opposite of
I
that.
love what you said early on in the presentation about how like disruption is always, I mean, change is always is exciting, but it's also really uncomfortable. And I too have been around long enough in this industry to have witnessed many cycles of this. And you mentioned some of them, and those were felt really brutal when they happened. But here we are on the other side of it, and people who were so freaked out that they were going to move from old school film to digital film are
Yeah,
now like, all right. I mean, in my world, illustrators, there were illustrators who swore, I'll never use a computer to make what I do.
exactly. Yeah.
They
That's a
do, and they wouldn't be able to do what they do today without the computer. That doesn't mean they've been replaced by it. So I hear Pat loud and clear, and we are a very democratic agent, I mean, association, organization. Here, we do want to try and help people across the board. So I get what she's saying as well.
right, right. And but I think that's the point that I always go back to. I started in this business. I actually went to photo school and learned film, but I also learned digital very quickly afterwards. And when I first started in the business, I knew digital very, very well, but I worked with a lot of photographers who were only shooting film and very scared that the client could now see what they were shooting and comment on it as they were shooting it. And they just felt like the magic of photography had been taken away and they didn't even want to continue. And I'm sure some of you have represented some artists who had that sort of feeling about it. But what came out of that transition was a new generation of artists who were very comfortable with digital cameras in their hands that were quite brilliant. I was blown away, and it was very easy for me to then decide to not be a photographer because I'll just stick with this retouching stuff because there's a whole generation coming up underneath. There's just, and I feel the same is going to happen with AI, and those that don't sort of get up to speed with it to some degree, at least understand it. There will be a generation coming up underneath that who knows what they're capable of. Probably amazing things.
But I do think that that kind of opening is important for the evolution of anything. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
agreed.
it's a natural like life cycle kind
A
of a little bit.
natural cycle, I think. And unfortunately, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Right when you get in a rhythm with how the business and industry is moving and going, it seems to shift and change. Social media did it, and there was a number of different shifts over the years, but this is a big one.
Mm.
Yeah, it seems like what you're advocating for is just embracing the gray area of it and using it as a tool instead of letting it define where we are and who we are as artists. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious when you do implement these tools, especially with photographers, have you found it easier to convince clients of certain ideas that either you haven't executed yet, but you have the skills to, or ideas that are just a bit more out there that might be riskier for your clients?
Um, it's probably a better question for my EP since he's working directly with the clients and doing these things a bit more. But I've definitely seen him do that with Amazon, like we showed, and Saks, like immediately showing them what was possible. They can make decisions and change directions so much faster than they could before. And yeah, I think as a photographer, um, you just have this powerful tool to help you envision like what you're trying to do. And I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy tool to control at all. Like you're going to pull your hair out if you're using it, but you might be able to you might get into a rhythm with it where you can kind of like experiment and then you go out and capture exactly what you wanted to capture, having a better idea of kind of what was in your mind to begin with, I guess. Oh, did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's exactly it.
I'm gonna stop us here because we're just about at an hour. Thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate you talking to everybody today.
Yes, thank you guys.
And thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, all.